but they share a common term. They are known as pelvic splanchnics. So, that's the second on page 75. If you look under postganglionic neurons, it talks about vagus. And then it says, or form pelvic splanchnic nerves, which innervate smooth muscle fibers. Okay, so here we have a cross-section of sacral spinal cord. We do not have lateral gray horn in the sacral spinal cord to define the autonomic component. This is the rat's nest, by the way, that I'm drawing. And we'll have it innervate the urinary bladder. Okay. So preganglionic neuron is found in the sacral spinal cord. So starting at S2 and lower, we have sacral spinal cord. And a lower motor neuron, you can draw this if you want to, I'm just drawing it for comparison. A lower motor neuron is going to have its cell body in the anterior gray horn. Where's it going to go next? Ventral root, and then out the ventral ramus to get to whatever muscle in the lower extremity. Okay. Our parasympathetic fibers are also motor. However, they will be found up here. Since they're motor, they're going to go out the ventral root. And then they're going to come off the ventral ramus, synapse with the intramural ganglion in the wall of the organ. This structure right here that I've drawn coming off the ventral ramus is this structure right here. See the similarity, hopefully, between my diagram and Mr. Netter, Dr. Netter's much better painting? So this is known as a pelvic splanchnic nerve. It contains preganglionic parasympathetic neurons. And we would still have an intramural ganglion.
All of those that are pelvic splanchnic, all of them.
All of these are, yes. So next semester, when we talk about reproductive activity, when we talk about the reflex for defecation or for urination, you're going to be miles ahead of everybody else because it's this pathway that we go through. Okay. So, briefly, when the bladder fills with urine, it's going to activate stretch receptors, which are sensory. Remember, stretch and pain is part of our general visceral afferent. That stretch receptor is going to go back to the spinal cord. This is what happens in a baby before they learn to have bladder control. It will form a direct reflex with the motor neuron. It will activate the motor neuron to cause the bladder to contract, and they wet their diaper. Okay? Visceral reflex. So until they learn to keep the voluntary muscle constrictor sphincter of the bladder closed, that takes training. Anytime your bladder stretches, you have automatic contraction, relaxation of the smooth muscle sphincter, and they go to the bathroom. Okay? So that's the simple control of the bladder. Now, it's always confusing for some students because, or many, me too, for a while. What do you always hear about people happening when they're scared to death? They pee in their pants, or they defecate. So students are a little surprised to hear that it's the parasympathetic system that causes the bladder to contract. We'll come back and visit this tomorrow, but it's back, the best explanation I found, and I haven't convinced my other colleagues about this, but the best explanation I found looking this up is back to that same vascular control. So when the sympathetic system is activated under fear, the blood vessels to the bladder are constricted so much that the acetylcholine release that's keeping the sphincter muscle contracted no longer contracts. It relaxes, and the bladder or the rectum empties. So it's a vascular control rather than dumping a bunch. Because sympathetic actually causes that sphincter to be tighter. Okay. All right. So pelvic splanchnic nerves. It helps. PS. Parasympathetic. Pelvic splanchnic nerves are parasympathetic. We do have sympathetic nerves that go to those same organs. They are identified as sacral splanchnic. S only for sympathetic. That's not why they did it, I don't think, but it does help. Okay? So pelvic splanchnic nerves are the parasympathetic preganglionic fibers from the sacral spinal cord. All right, so let's stop there and take a break. And then when we come back, it will be brief because it's a review of material that we